Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Here with another weekend recap. Let's jump into it. In the American League, Baltimore and Cleveland end up splitting 2-2. KC and Detroit, KC ends up winning that one, best 3 out of 4. Toronto and New York, the Yankees take 2 of 3 in the Bronx. Boston and Texas, Boston ends up taking 2 of 3 in Texas. Tampa Bay and Houston, Tampa wins 2 of 3 from Houston. We'll see how the Astros respond there. And the White Sox in Minnesota, no surprises. The White Sox have lost 20 in a row. Minnesota Twins end up sweeping them. In the National League, we have Miami and Atlanta. They end up splitting in a 4 game set. St. Louis and Chicago. Chicago ends up taking that series best 2 out of 3. San Francisco and Cincinnati. San Francisco ends up taking 2 of 3 there. Colorado and San Diego. San Diego takes 2 of 3, no surprise. Arizona and Pittsburgh. Arizona ends up taking 2 of 3. And then in the interleague, the Mets and the Angels. The Angels take 2 of 3 at home from the Mets. The Dodgers and Oakland. Dodgers take 2 of 3 in their last series ever in the Coliseum. And lastly, Philly and Seattle. Philly takes 2 of 3 in Seattle. Or is that right? Or did Seattle take 2 of 3?
Seattle took 2 of 3. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. That's my bad. But yeah, pretty solid week of baseball. Caught a little bit of the Jays series on the way home today. Saw a little bit of Boston versus Texas. But yeah, pretty good weekend. I was up in Regina watching some football. But yeah, no, it was a solid week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's time to get into this new week. I currently sit at, before we get there, 236, 193, and 33, while Blake is 251, 180, and 31. And we know our picks for this week, and it looks like this is going to be a make or break week for me because we have a couple that are different here. So let's jump into it in the American League. First off, we have Houston taking on Texas in Texas. It'll be Brown versus to be determined, Valdez versus Malley, and Kikuchi versus Heaney. I'm going to go ahead and take Houston in this one. Um, it's more so just Texas. I thought was going to get back on track sooner, and they just haven't done it. So, um, yeah, Houston lost some tight games this weekend too from Tampa. I don't
Yeah.
think that they're in danger or anything like that. But Lance McCullers Jr. is out for the season. That just came out yesterday. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, interesting rotation they have right now. But I am gonna go Houston,
Yeah.
long-winded, but I
I'm
have to
gonna go
agree with you.
Houston as well. Kikuchi slated to start in that third game. He had a very interesting Houston Astros debut. Gave up a double and a homer to start the first two batters, then settled down, struck out 8 in a row, and ended up finishing with 11 strikeouts and 2 walks. So, really solid debut there for him. And yeah, I'll go Houston here as well.
Next up, we have the Red Sox taking on the Royals in Kansas City. It'll be Paxton versus Singer, Bayo versus Lugo, and Crawford versus Reagans. I'm going to go ahead and take the Royals. They've been playing good baseball. Bobby Witt's tearing up the league. Um, Even though I do like how Boston's played, the last 2 months, they've
Yeah.
been chippy and finding ways to win. I am going to go with Kansas City, primarily because their pitching has just been so good. Reagans is going in the series, and they're at home. So I'm going to go with Kansas City
Yeah, I'm
Royals.
gonna go Boston here. I think Boston could take one here on the road. Obviously, KC is one of the best home teams in all of baseball. But it's pretty fair pitching matchups. I'd probably give the slight edge to KC, but I just like the way Boston's just a scrappy little bunch right now. Jaron Duran's really going off, breaking out this year. So he's been fun to watch as well. So yeah, I'll go Boston here.
Next up, we have the Angels heading into the Bronx to take on the Yankees. It'll be Daniel versus Hill, Fulmer versus Cortez, and Anderson versus Stroman. It is what it is. The Angels, they are retooling, rebuilding. I go more towards rebuilding right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're gonna say they want to win, and maybe that can happen if they go and splurge next year or the year after. But right now, they don't have much in this rotation. Daniel is only a handful of starts. Carson Fulmer is starting in the year 2024. It's been like 6 years since that guy's been a starter. And then Tyler Anderson, he was an all-star, but it is what it is. The Yankees are seems like they've kind of been rejuvenated with the trade of Jazz Chisholm,
Yep.
and they're at home. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep the Angels here.
Yeah. It's exactly what I have jotted down in front of me. Yankees are 7-1. since the deadline. And Jazz Chisholm has 4 home runs. So he looks okay at third base. I saw a little bit of him against this Jays series. He looks a little uncomfortable, but I think as he gets more reps there, I think he'll be pretty solid there. But they just got Stanton back. Judge is up to 41 homers, just a crazy pace right now. But yeah, I'm gonna go the Yankees too. Obviously, Angels lose Mike Trout for the rest of the year. Tough to see that, but yeah, I'll go the Yankees here.
Next up, we have the O's taking on the Blue Jays. It'll be in Toronto. It'll be Rodriguez versus Bassett, Rogers versus TBD, and Kramer versus Gosman. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the O's here. The Blue Jays also traded away a lot of pieces,
Yep.
and Baltimore is one of the best teams in the league. So it seems like the O's really have the Jays number this year. So
This year, oh, man, they've had the chase number the last like 2 years, it seems. But yeah, I'll go Boston here. That
Baltimore.
TBD, they just said it's gonna be a bullpen game, so that just came out just now. But yeah, I honestly the Jays are like the Angels. They have a bunch of young players playing right now for spots next year, showcasing their young talent for next year and kind of see what happens there. So yeah, I'll go Baltimore.
There you go. You said Boston in the beginning,
Or
but it's
sorry,
all
yeah,
good.
Baltimore. My
He's so checked out on the Jays, he doesn't even know they're playing.
bad.
Detroit versus Seattle. It's going to be in Seattle. It'll be TBD versus Castillo, Montero versus Kirby, and Skubal versus Wu. You know what? I almost took Detroit here, but just because of Skubal, but I'm going to lean towards Seattle's pitching against the very, very bad Detroit offense.
Yeah.
Both these offenses aren't very good, but Justin Turner hit a grand slam this weekend. That was an addition. And they beat the Phillies, so Seattle's playing some good ball. I'm gonna go with that.
How
Mariners
about
here.
that fan on that grand slam, just living in the moment, not a glove in sight, just takes it right off the face. I was
No.
like, how do you allow that to happen? That was tough. But yeah, I'll go Seattle in this one. They're at home. It's a tough place to play for them lately. So yeah, pitching matchup lines up well. We've been waiting for Detroit to take a step, and they just haven't been able to. They got some young pieces that are fun to watch, but I'll go Seattle.
Next up, we have the White Sox taking on the A's. Um, it'll be TBD versus Sears. I believe it's actually going to be Kai Bush, who was
Oh
traded
yeah, he
last year
just got
for
called
Lucas
up. That's right.
Giolito.
Yep.
Cannon versus Stripling, and Martin versus Estes. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the White Sox break their losing streak here. And I'm going to look at game two, Cannon versus Stripling. Stripling, I believe, is 1-10 this year.
Yes.
So maybe that is the game for the White Sox. But Oakland's going to take the series because White Sox just really, really suck. So
Their manager just got fired, right? He was a
did he
hundred
get fired?
games. Well, yeah, the White Sox manager, they replaced him with Charlie Montoyo.
No, I don't think it's done. I don't think they've done it yet.
They haven't. Oh, it's just speculation. Well, he's 100
Yeah.
games under 500.
Yeah.
That's insane. He's 88 and 100 or 188. It's insane. I don't think I've ever seen a manager like that. But the fact that he isn't fired is kind of insane in itself, I guess I'll say. But I don't think the White Sox get their losing streak snapped. I think Oakland sweeps them. I might be a little bold. I might be a little bold, but this team is so bad right now. The players don't even look like they want to be on the field. It gets insane. Yeah, the toilet bowl, the garbage bowl, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, let's shift over to the NL, I guess.
Well, before we get there, I will say the worst part about all of this is they can't get better than the 10th pick.
Yeah, that's tough. They're locked in at 10, right? Because they've been
They're
so
locked
bad.
at they're locked in at 10 because of the new CBA. You can't get a top 5 pick and be a big market team
Yeah,
back-to-back
I'm just
seasons.
gonna read
So
you a tweet that you sent me. You said 20 losses in a row, 60 games below 500, 1-12 versus Minnesota Twins, 8-34 against the AL Central, and like I said, the manager's record is 100 games below 500. That's
yeah,
you can't. They might be the worst team of all time. Like it's bad.
well, we're gonna find out. So yeah, let's head over to the National League. It's gonna be a good one here. It'll be Philly taking on the Dodgers in LA. It'll be Nola versus Glasnow, Sanchez versus Kershaw, and Phillips versus Stone. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Phillies. They haven't been playing good ball of late. They were able to get a win today though. Noah Glasnow looks promising. Biggest thing right now is no Mookie Betts, no Freddie Freeman, but Freddie Freeman might be back for this. His son, uh, I guess is, doing a lot better and he's going to be coming home from the hospital. So, maybe we'll see Freddie Freeman be back tomorrow against the Phillies, but, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Philadelphia, but it should be a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, this has got a playoff matchup written all over it, to be honest. I'm gonna go the Dodgers though. Phillies have lost 8 of their last 10 games. Haven't been playing very well, like you mentioned. It should be a really good series, and I'll go the Dodgers here.
Next up, we have the Giants taking on the Nats. It'll be TBD versus Corbin, Webb versus Gore, and Snell versus Irvin. Oh, also, this is a four gamer. Harrison versus Hers. Um,
Yep.
yeah, so four gamer here. I was looking at it as a three gamer, but I did go ahead and go with San Francisco. Webb pitches in this series. Blake Snell just threw a no hitter.
Mhm.
Um, that momentum in a four-game series, I'm gonna take my chances with them winning two games at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the Giants as well. They've been pitching the ball very well. Hers has been pretty good in the limited starts that he that had this year. Obviously, Corbin is what it is. One of the worst pitchers in baseball right now. Gore Webb, that should be a promising matchup there, but I will go with the Giants here.
Next up, we got the Padres taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is a very intriguing matchup. It'll be TBD versus Falter, Cease versus Gonzalez, and Vasquez versus Ortiz. Obviously, no Skeens in this series. Probably Pittsburgh would have wished that he was pitching in here
Yeah.
because these two teams are battling for a wild card.
Mhm.
With that said, Padres have been pretty hot, but Pittsburgh has been a lot better than I thought they were going to be out of the break. They've
Yep.
been still going. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Pittsburgh at home. I think it's gonna be a really good series. I could see it going either way, but I'm gonna ride the Pirates wave right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Padres. They got the best record in the MLB second half, 11-3, since the official second half. So they've surprisingly shut that door pretty tight in the NL West race, right? They cut it to 4.5 games, and they're gonna have some pivotal games down the stretch with the Dodgers, which I think if you would have said 2 months ago wouldn't really be important because they were 8, 9 games back, but they've really cut into that division lead. And obviously they doubled and tripled down at the deadline and acquired some big pieces in that bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what kind of team they are down the stretch.
Yep. Next up, we have the Brewers taking on the Braves. It'll be Ray versus Sale, Peralta versus Morton, and Montas versus Schwallenbach. Schwallenbach's been pretty good this year, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Milwaukee. Atlanta it just feels like ever since Albies, I mean, even going back to Acuna,
Yeah.
they lost Acuna, they kind of went through a little rut. They lost Albies, they went through a little rut. It just feels like without those two pieces, they're just a different team. I
Mhm.
don't know. I know they still got Matt Olson, Austin Riley, and they traded, they have Azuna. They traded for
Where?
Soler.
Yeah.
Like I get it. They tried to reinforce. I just feel differently. Milwaukee's just been really consistent.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and take Milwaukee in this series. I could be completely wrong and Atlanta just goes off here, but it just feels like they haven't been the same.
Yeah, Olson having a really down year. Riley's having a down year. But with that being said, I am going to take Atlanta. Chris Sale's been really good this year. Morton's has had his up and downs, and then like you mentioned, Schollenbach's been relatively solid this year. But and Atlanta's at home. They are a better team at home, so I will go with Atlanta here.
Next up, we have the Reds taking on the Marlins. It'll be Martinez versus Munoz, Lodolo versus Meyer, Abbott versus Balazzo, and Green versus Tyler. I could see a 2-2 here.
Yep.
It is in Miami. Miami has been playing better ball. Uh, they're letting the kids play right now. But
Mhm.
that's why I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. There just is a lot of inexperience there, while Cincinnati, does have Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer and has some notable pieces there. So plus Lodolo and Hunter Green in this series, I'm gonna go with the Reds.
Yeah, I'm too. I could see this as a split too, but I'm gonna go Miami. They're really playing with no pressure at all. they're just letting their kids develop and get ABs and get some experience. Mayer just got called up, so that should be a solid start for him. That should be an intriguing matchup there against Lodolo. But yeah, Cincinnati probably will win the series, but I'm gonna lean Miami here.
Next up, we have the Mets taking on the Rockies. It will be in Colorado, so anything can happen. It'll be Severino versus Freeland, Blackburn versus Feltner, and Peterson versus Gomber. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Mets. They played some tight games against the Angels this past weekend. They blew one in the seventh. They lost one 3-2 today. So going to Colorado where the ball is gonna fly a little bit more. Obviously, they have more star power.
Hmm.
Really, I almost went Colorado here. But because Kyle Freeland's pitching, I didn't. That was like the reason why I didn't.
Yeah,
No, Kyle Freeland hate. It's just he's not the same guy as he was a couple years ago, right?
no,
So
definitely not.
Severino's been solid. Again, it's Colorado though.
Yeah,
Anything could happen.
yeah,
But I'm gonna go with the
Blackburn.
Mets.
Yeah, Blackburn, who came over in that trade from Oakland. He's going to start in this series, like you said. But I'll go the Mets. They were hot for a while. Obviously, they've sputtered a little bit lately, the last couple series, but still knocking on that door for the wild card spot in the NL. So yeah, I'll go the Mets here.
Alrighty. And in the interleague, we have the D-backs taking on the guards. Be Gallen versus TBD, TBD versus Lively, and Fott versus Carrasco. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Cleveland Guardians here. They are at home. They just split with Baltimore, which is a much better team than Arizona. Arizona's been playing better ball also.
Hmm.
But Cleveland, again, consistent at top of their division. Um, Obviously, they have to play the White Sox all those times, so
Yep.
they got some extra wins in there. But yeah, I just feel good about Cleveland right now. They've kind of been having some strong series against some good teams of late, and I think this will be just them cruising along and take 2 of 3 here.
I'm gonna go Arizona here. They've cut that lead in the division of 5 games. They've been swinging it offensively. They've won 8 of their last 10 lately. So they're like the Braves, the Padres. They're rolling. Both of those two NL West teams are rolling right now, and I know they're on the road. Obviously, interleague matchup here. So I'll go Arizona.
Next up, we have the Twins taking on the Cubs. It'll be Festa versus Hendricks, Lopez versus Imanaga, and Ryan versus Assad. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Minnesota. They do have Lopez and Joe Ryan going in this series. Yes, the Cubs do have Imanaga. It is at Wrigley. But the Cubs have just been underwhelming all season long. It is what it is. And Minnesota's still fighting right now.
Yep.
So, and I believe they're in the wild card right now. So, um, these are big games for them, while the Cubs, they might just be, checking out at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Twins.
Yeah, Cubs just did take 3 of 4 from St. Louis. Their season is kind of on life support, though. I mean, they got to
Yeah.
start stringing wins together in a hurry. I am going to go Minnesota. Minnesota obviously won 4 in a row. Obviously, they just swept the White Sox, and they're 4.5 back of the division, like you said. So, yeah, they're in a division battle right now, and the Cubs, like I said, season's kind of now or never for them.
Yep. Next up, we have Tampa taking on St. Louis. It'll be Springs versus Gray, Bradley versus Fetty, and Boz versus Gibson. Springs coming back. It'd be interesting to watch there, but he is going up against Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
The Cardinals do need to get some wins right now. Tampa's been playing pretty good since the deadline.
Yep.
But I am gonna go ahead and go with St. Louis, mainly because of Gray, and Fetty's just been a workhorse this year, even for the White Sox. So I am gonna go with St. Louis, but this is where I stand with the Cardinals. Even the beginning of the year, I said they were blah. Then they
Yep.
started winning games. I still felt like the entire year I felt blah about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm fine taking them, but I'm not like overly confident in taking them every
Right.
time I take them.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I'm going to go Tampa Bay. For how much Tampa Bay sold at the deadline and restocked their farm, and they're getting Rasmussen back, and obviously they're getting Springs back. They're 5 games out of a wild card spot, which is kind of crazy to say. Like as much selling they did, like playoffs are not that far out of distance for them, right? So they find ways to win always. It's obviously a different Rays team this year than we've been accustomed to in the past, but yeah, they had a pretty solid deadline and only 5 games out of a wild card spot. I love the pitching matchups for the Rays in this one, and yeah, I'll go the Rays.
Alrighty, that's gonna do it for this one. In review, I have Houston, Kansas City, New York, Baltimore, Seattle, Oakland, Philly, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and New York. And then the interleague, I have Cleveland, Minnesota, and St. Louis, while Blake has Houston, Boston, New York, Baltimore, Seattle, Oakland, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Atlanta, Miami, and New York. And in the interleague, Arizona, Minnesota, and Tampa Bay. Thank you guys for listening. We're over 1,000 subs now. I think close to 1,300. We're approaching there. So if we can just keep that going, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.